Jesus has good news and bad news. Which would you like first? That's a trick question. It's the same news either way. The good news and the bad news is that God is obsessed with the one that got away. It's not hard to see why this claim causes controversy. It contradicts the most basic assumptions most of us make about God. We assume God loves the good, obedient people. God favors those who do things right. And God is mad and disappointed with the rebels and degenerates who are out there breaking all the rules and messing up their lives. But Jesus suggests that hardcore rebels and degenerates aren't really what God sees when God looks at people. What God sees is mostly just sheep. Sheep are the absolute losers in nature's personal protection lottery. They have no stingers or quills or venom or horns or fangs or claws. They are basically nature's free taco truck. Their only hope of surviving is to stick with the group and hope that when a wolf shows up, it gets indigestion before it can eat all of them. A sheep separated from the flock is so vulnerable and disoriented, it couldn't find its way out of an open cereal box. According to Jesus, this is how we look to God. The biggest rebel you know is a giant cotton ball on legs. That rebel sheep might strike out boldly on his own, but he won't make it 100 feet before he'll get disoriented and turn from a rebel sheep into a lost one. Don't let that spiked collar fool you. He's profoundly vulnerable, and he probably even knows it. God's not mad at that rogue sheep who's 90% fear and confusion. God's mostly just concerned, and filled with an overwhelming desire to bring that sheep back home. I read a story about a scientific expedition that set out to locate one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth so that their territory could be protected. The images are burned in my mind forever. Ragged, near-starved explorers clinging to vines and clawing up mountains while being stalked by deadly snakes that apparently fixate on human targets and then track them to the ends of the earth. The portrait Jesus is painting of God reminds me a bit of that story. This is extreme, unreasonable behavior from God. 99% of the flock is safe and plump. Why can't God just take a win and cut God's losses? 99% is great, but God can't let it go. God just can't stop thinking about that one stubborn sheep who's still missing. How scared he must be. And God isn't the type to sit around passively worrying. So God goes out trudging through mud, shivering on the ground, sacrificing food, wrestling anacondas to locate that one lost sheep. And according to Jesus, when God finds it, God doesn't kick it and yell, "Stupid sheep brain, what were you thinking? Do you know what this rescue cost me?" God doesn't make it wear a cone of shame and punishment. No, God treats that rogue sheep like a lost puppy. God is happier about that one darn sheep than God has ever been about anything in God's entire joy-filled heavenly life. God cradles that rebel sheep like a baby, carries it home, and throws such a lavish party for it that the angels are almost embarrassed for God. At this point you might be thinking, that all sounds kind of sweet, so how could any of this be bad news? Well, that depends on whether you identify with the rebel sheep or the rest of the well-behaved flock that's back on the hillside. Imagine the conversation back there if sheep could talk. How is this even fair? Don't good sheep deserve extra love? What about us and our needs? Who's gonna sing us to sleep at night while God's out there gallivanting after the one guy not smart enough to stay home? And let's face it, who really missed that guy anyway? There's a certain mindset, a herd mentality, if you will, that's common among people who think they've generally made the right set of choices. Maybe that rebel sheep is getting what he deserved. Maybe he should have to lie in the bed he made for himself. At the very least, the shepherd's priority should be tending to the comfort of those of us who've done the right things, keeping our wool unruffled and our grass green and lush. This is the primary audience of Jesus' stories in Luke 15. The well-behaved members of the flock who are spending their days nibbling and snoozing and snapping at each other. Jesus' message to them is simple. It's time to stop thinking like a sheep and grow up and be a shepherd. The good news is that if you ever feel lost, you can be absolutely sure God is combing the ends of the earth for you. God won't go home without you. But God isn't just looking to form a flock of permanently pampered puffballs who are too scared to ever leave the pen and too spoiled to risk ever missing a meal. God is saving lost sheep, and God is also apprenticing brave shepherds. God is growing a giant search and rescue party. This story isn't about fairness or just desserts. It's about love that won't give up. that refuses to treat a single person as expendable. It's about taking a godlike view of the world, where a lost sheep isn't a failure to judge, but a prize to fight for. Let's hear Jesus' story in Luke 15, verses 1 to 10. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and teachers of religious law complain that Jesus was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So Jesus told them this story. If a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go and search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he's found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. When he arrives, he will call together his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me because I found my lost sheep." In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and sweep the entire house and search carefully until she finds it? When she finds it, she'll call in her friends and neighbors and say, "Rejoice with me because I found my lost coin." In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels when even one sinner repents. I'm Meghan Good, and this is Reading Jesus. If you'd like a discussion guide to aid you in your conversation or personal reflection, you can go to patreon.com/Jesus Collective Community and look for the Luke 15 post. Thanks so much for joining me for a few minutes in Luke, and I'll see you next time.